Dr. Ken Craycraft, professor of theology at Mount St. Mary's Seminary and School of Theology, and author of the book Citizens Yet Strangers, Living Authentically Catholic in a Divided America. Dr. Craycraft, great to have you back on. A lot to discuss today, but first, I want to get your take on President Biden's speech last night, what he said and what he didn't say.
Yeah, most importantly, what he didn't say, Tracy. The speech was very disappointing because we expected him to tell us the truth about why he dropped out of the race and to give us an assessment of his health and of his capacity to govern over the next 6 months. He didn't do either of those things. He told us that he was passing the torch to a younger generation as though it was some kind of a selfless move. We all know that he's leaving the race because of his health, but what we don't know is how serious his health is. So it was very disappointing for the President of the United States to obfuscate on such an important issue. And indeed, if he's not well enough to campaign, then is he well enough to govern? And I really think that's the reason that he didn't really disclose the reason that he's leaving the campaign. We all know that it's not to pass the torch. We all know that he clings to power and he wanted to cling to power, but that he's stepping aside from the campaign because of his health. But we don't know the extent of that health. And the mystery surrounding the time that he went to Delaware after the debate until yesterday is no more resolved than it was before. And it really leaves us wondering who's in charge of the White House and therefore who's in charge of all kinds of important questions, including foreign policy, which is another issue that the ball was dropped this week when Benjamin Netanyahu was not greeted at the airport by either President Biden or Vice President Harris. You know, Israel is our best ally in the Middle East and our only true friend. And to treat Netanyahu the way they did is yet another indication that it just isn't clear who's in charge of the White House.
Yeah, speaking of, passing that torch along, I want to talk about Vice President Kamala Harris now, Ken, who is now the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. What do we know about her and her stance on issues such as abortion?
Well, we know that she's not just pro-abortion, but that she's a pro-abortion crusader. It's interesting that the senator from Massachusetts was asked this week what Kamala Harris's greatest achievement was as vice president, and the answer was she's the first sitting vice president to visit an abortion clinic. I think that tells us a great deal about what we can expect from a potential President Harris. She's not just going to be a pro-abortion, but she's going to be a pro-abortion zealot, and that includes not just supporting abortion and working to make policies that are pro-abortion nationwide, but also working against those who are opposed to abortion and who defend unborn human life, including crisis pregnancy centers. We've already seen indications in various states where crisis pregnancy centers are being attacked. A President Harris, I believe, would use all the resources that she can muster, and probably some that are not really legitimate, to implement a radical pro-abortion policy, and more importantly, to work against those who are trying to protect the lives of the unborn through crisis pregnancy centers and other ways. And of course, that includes using tax dollars to implement policies that many taxpayers are opposed to. I really think that Kamala Harris is going to be far more aggressive on things like that than this president has been, despite him being a fairly pro-abortion president. And so I think that we need to be very cautious, and we need to look very carefully at her record as Attorney General in California, her record as Vice President, and the company that she keeps and the donors from whom she receives money, because that tells us a lot about where she stands on that and other very important social issues that are at play here in this election.
And Dr. Craycraft, always good to be with you. Thank you so much for your insights. God bless.
Thank you, Tracy.